Jumper from the Golden Knights narrator specialist Eric Holman. Eric, do you hear us? Wow, Eric, doesn't sound like you're doing so well up there. In reality, ladies and gentlemen, I need everybody to please come to their feet as we are about to unveil not only his parachute, but our national flag. And singing our national anthem today from Langley Air Force Base is Airman First Class Christopher Michael.
By the dawn's early light, what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, did prove through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the
Speeds of 120 miles per hour. They will fly their bodies apart to gain separation using their hands, arms, legs, and shoulders as flight controls. Once the jumpers turn 180 degrees, they will prepare for the baton exchange. The jumpers will fly closer and closer, gauging their speed, distance, and rate of closure from one another. Contact has been made, and the 14-inch mahogany baton exchange. Watch as the jumpers now alter their body position to form 120-mile-per-hour spirals in the sky. The jumpers will then separate and prepare to open their main parachutes. Watch momentarily for the parachutes. And there you have the high-flying black and gold of your United States Army parachute team, the Golden Knights. Mr. Charlie Hillard, former team leader of the Christian Eagles aerobatics team, and parachute manufacturer Mr. Stephen Snyder, exchanged the first baton back in 1957. It was then believed that two jumpers in free fall could not possibly make contact. The parachutes used by the Golden Knights are flexible wing gliders. Constructed of lightweight ripstop nylon, these parachutes have an inherent forward speed of 22 miles per hour. To turn left, the jumper pulls down on the left steering line. To turn right, the jumper simply pulls on the right steering line. As the jumpers near the ground, they will pull on both steering lines simultaneously for the safest and softest possible landing. The parachutes used by the Golden Knights have 7 openings in the front, which allow air to be forced into the canopy, keeping the flexible wing glider inflated. As the jumpers work their way towards the ground, they will pull on the front part of the parachute to spiral downwards at speeds in excess of 60 miles per hour. This allows for individual approaches to the target. corrections that the jumpers use while they fly themselves back to the target area. Tails of the parachutes curl under as the jumper slows their forward speed and rate of descent. Our jumper flying high overhead, flying the POW MIA flag as he makes his way into the target area. These jumpers flying overhead can hear you very well. Make some noise, let them know where you're at as they fly themselves in to set up for great target area landings. Watch as all of our next jumpers focus their attention on the windsock in the target area. They're making minor corrections, guiding themselves back in to suit the center of the target. It takes a great deal of concentration to achieve a dead center landing. Watch the very small, minor corrections used by this jumper as he brings himself in and slows down to sink it into the target. Our jumper is out overhead, the smoke is on. He is wearing 3 parachutes instead of the 2 normally worn. He's ignited his smoke as he glides to his opening point. After opening, he will intentionally cause his first parachute to malfunction. Please, do not be alarmed when this first parachute begins to streamer. There is absolutely no danger to the jumper. This is our only solo maneuver, yet one of our most exciting. Watch momentarily for a parachute to inflate. And there you have the black and gold of the United States Army parachute team. This is a perfectly good parachute and can be landed. However, the jumper will reach up and release one side, intentionally causing it to malfunction. As the parachute now accelerates earthward to speeds in excess of 90 miles per hour, it would be impossible for a jumper to survive a landing under this parachute. So he must release it completely, return to free fall, and open his main parachute. There you have another beautiful parachute over that jumper's head. This is the same procedure a parachutist would use if he were to actually have a problem with his main parachute. The reserve parachutes used by the Golden Knights are also flexible wing gliders, such as the one you see now. There are some differences, though. It is White and Keller with a slightly smaller wing surface area and a much greater forward speed of up to 30 miles per hour. This enables the jumper to make it back into any tight situation, such as a downtown intersection or a major league stadium. While each jumper will repack his or her own main parachute, the reserve parachutes must be repacked every 120 days by a certified parachute technician, whether it is used or not. The released parachute you see floating earthwards will be recovered, untangled, and hooked up to use again. If it does float towards you, please do not attempt to retrieve it. Our recovery team is on its way. Watch as this next jumper makes his corrections, flying himself in for the target in the landing area. Notice the tail of the parachute curl under as this jumper slows his forward speed and sends it straight down for a beautiful target area landing. Jumpers snap into a rigid body position, resembling that of an Olympic ski jumper. Their arms at their sides, legs straight, knees locked and toes pointed. These jumpers lock into a rigid body position, which enables them to gain as much lift as humanly possible. In a sense, they become human airfoils, gaining lift as they streak across the sky at speeds of 180 miles per hour. As the jumpers execute 180-degree turns, they are nearly 1.5 miles apart. Due to this tremendous amount of lateral separation, each jumper must trace the thin red trail of smoke back to his partner, who appears much like a guided missile streaking back towards him. Watch the left dive, watch the right, and watch for the cross. the extremely high degree of precision required to complete such a close cross at these high opposing speeds. Each show diamond track is performed by sets of two-man tracking teams. Each team starts off the show season at our winter training period in Yuma, Arizona. There, they begin to perfect their flights to perform these diamond track maneuvers with the utmost of precision and safety. Normally, a tracking team will stay together for an entire show season and will only track with each other. Tracking teams are a very tight-knit unit, and there must be a great deal of concentration in someone coming at you at 180 miles per hour. Notice our two jumpers overhead, spiraling downwards, gaining vertical separation between them as they make their way into the target area. Pulling down on the front part of the parachutes, these jumpers spiral downwards to make their way clear of the airspace with the next pass coming in above them. Our jumpers at 1,000 feet do a wind penetration check, gauging their speed and distance across the ground. They then turn and fly a downwind leg, a base leg 90 degrees to the target, before turning back into the wind for their final approach. It takes a great deal of concentration in order to obtain a dead center landing. All of the jumper's attention is focused on the windsock in the target area. As the jumper gets closer and closer to the target, he shifts all of his attention to the small black dot located in the center of our orange X. Watch as this jumper makes minor corrections, diving in for a beautiful target landing. Our next jumper, following closely behind, flies himself in and shuts it down to sink it in for a beautiful dead center landing. As the team leader takes his heading in this direction, the left wing and right wing key on his movements to form a wide wedge in the sky with their smoke trails. Since vocal commands cannot be heard in free fall, the team leader must rely on hand and arm signals for communication. At 9,000 feet, the team leader waves his arms, signaling the left wing and right wing to close in for the tight wedge formation. The wingmen will fly in slower and slower, using their hands, arms, legs, and shoulders as flight controls. While they fly in the tight wedge formation, they will make no physical contact. As the jumpers approach 5,000 feet, the team leader will wave his arms, signaling all three jumpers to turn straight to the 3 points of the compass, completing our bomb burst maneuver. This is our salute to the attendants of today's show. Watch for the parachutes. And there you have the high-flying black and gold of your United States Army parachute team, the Golden Knights. These jumpers are now faced with a unique situation. A traffic jam in the sky. They must gain vertical separation to allow for individual approaches into the target area. This is accomplished by pulling down on the front part of the parachute and spiraling downwards at speeds in excess of 60 miles per hour to set up an accuracy stack, just as you might see aircraft at a busy airport. As the jumpers make their way to the ground, they're paying close attention to the windsock, keeping themselves in the prime location overhead to make their way into the target area. As our first jumper faces into the wind, gauging his speed and distance across the ground, preparing to set up on his final approach. He now turns and flies back on his downwind leg. The two jumpers above follow his lead and make their way in, following the same flight path to the target area. Turning in on his face, and now in on his final approach, our jumper brings it in, shutting it down for a beautiful target area landing. Our next jumper coming in right overhead, slowing all of his forward speed, bringing it in over the target to shut it down for a beautiful target landing. Our last jumper making his way in for his approach to the target, flying our nation's POW MIA flag behind his parachute. Watch the minor corrections this jumper makes as he slows himself in for a beautiful dead center landing.